I wasn't going to do it. Once Milo Yiannopoulos self-destructed, I knew there was going to be a huge internet upheaval over it, but I didn't want to be part of it, so I figured I'd just keep my mouth shut. After all, what was I going to say? That Milo didn't totally screw up in his comments over underage gay sex? And I'm not going to even talk about that because I just don't care. It isn't like Milo raped a kid. He made a stupid comment. Big deal. Lots of people make stupid comments. But that's not where this is leading. See, I wasn't going to talk about it until I saw a bunch of regressives screaming that because he made a stupid comment, that somehow that invalidates everything he's ever said in his life, and if you agree with anything he's ever said, that makes you a filthy pedophile and you ought to be drawn and quartered. That if you agree with anything he's ever said, that you must agree with everything he's ever said. And that's where I had to open my mouth and say something. Now, as much as I agree with that what Milo said about underage gay sex is stupid, that doesn't invalidate in any way what he said about other subjects. And this is something I point out a lot, but nobody ever listens. The quality of the information provided does not depend on the quality of the source that provides it. A fact is a fact, no matter how despicable the person who reports it might be. And while this happens on both sides, I find it to be a lot more prevalent on the left, where they simply try to discredit the source of the story and not the story itself. They just don't care if the story was true or false. They'll find something unrelated that the source said that was either wrong or made them feel bad or whatever, and then declare that everything that source says from the beginning of time to the end is automatically wrong because the source bothered to say it. And that's just stupid. I mean, the Daily Stormer could do a completely accurate report on some event, and even though they're a bunch of racist assholes, the report would still be factually true. It's not the source that matters, it's the facts. Facts are facts, no matter who says them. But what I've been seeing from a lot of self-professed progressives is a kind of character assassination against Milo. Should he be criticized for what he said? Absolutely. He fucked up. But what he said about kiddie sex has nothing at all to do with what he said about the regressive left. One doesn't affect the other. One doesn't make the other any more or less true. And since the left wasn't able to run him out of town with their protests, now they're trying to do it with their character assassination. And anyone who goes along with that is an idiot. Now, as I've said, I'm not really a fan of Milo. I mean, some of the things he said, yeah, but as a person, no. And I don't do the whole hero worship thing. I don't follow people, I follow ideas. I follow facts. And while Milo often said things I agreed with concerning the political left, he also said a lot of things that I didn't agree with, and thus, while I might catch some things he said in a video now and then, I never saw him out because I enjoyed watching him as an individual. And I honestly think Milo screwed himself over by not recognizing who his audience actually was. He was invited to college campuses mostly by conservative or Republican groups who wanted to hear what he had to say about liberals. Yeah, Milo's gay, but you have to have this little thing called decorum too. When you have a group of people who's paying your way to hear you speak, you don't go out of your way to piss them off and make them uncomfortable, and I think that's what Milo did quite often. He was a provocateur. He went out of his way to say and do things that upset people for the express purpose of upsetting them. And that doesn't make you a lot of friends on either side. More and more often, I'd see him in videos showing up in dresses, talking about how many black dicks he's sucked, trying to be more and more edgy, and not recognizing that his audience, the people who paid to see him, were generally not comfortable with that kind of material. And that's nothing against being gay. It's against having no clue about class and decorum. Even among Republicans who have no problem with homosexuality, they're probably going to have a problem with someone who stands up in front of the room and describes graphic sex acts, regardless of those involved. That's just not the kind of thing that people should talk about in public. It's rude, it's crude, and it's classless. And I think Milo is playing up the classless angle way too much. So I'll compare him with someone else I've talked about and criticized in the past, Ben Shapiro. They both spend a lot of time talking about the same things, how idiotic the illiberal left is in the modern world, and I've criticized Shapiro for his stupid religious beliefs, the same thing I've criticized Milo for as well, but when they're talking about their chosen subjects, they have completely different outlooks. Shapiro isn't putting on a show, he's presenting arguments. And Milo is doing a one-man rendition of La Cage aux Folles. It was really only a matter of time before Milo went too far and pissed off the people who were paying his way. Milo was really a caricature of himself. He upset people for the sake of upsetting people. He went out of his way to piss people off. He had a stage show, not a speech. That's really not how you should present information to an audience, at least in my opinion. When you try to make yourself more important than what you're saying, you're going to have issues. But that really doesn't invalidate what you're saying either, and the radical left have been trying to make people hate Milo since he arrived on the scene because they don't like what he's saying, but they had no way of proving him wrong. And so, character assassination time! Because that's what they do. They couldn't refute his points, so they attacked his person. And when your person is being attacked, you really need to be especially careful not to give them anything to grab onto. But with Milo being a showman, not a debater, it was inevitable that he'd say something stupid, and that would spell his end. So, who's to blame for all this? There's a lot of blame to spread around. Certainly Milo has a lot to be sorry for. Ultimately, his own actions caused his downfall. You don't piss in the cornflakes of the people who are feeding you, but you especially don't utter any political views that absolutely everybody on both sides are going to hate. And even though I can sort of understand some of the things he was trying to say, some things, like it or not, need to remain unsaid, especially when you have people on one side of the political spectrum gunning for your head. I mean, I'm not defending him, I'm just saying, geez, dude, you gotta be smarter than that. And the people on the left have to be smarter too. God, do they need to be a lot smarter. Or smart at all. Or have any cognitive function whatsoever. Try. Please try. But they don't want to debate. They want to rant. They don't want to defend their views. They just want to attack detractors. We need to have an intellectual debate about some of these political ideologies in this country, but nobody's interested. You have the ranting mobs on one side, and unfortunately, the provocateur showman on the other. And is it really any surprise that things explode into controversy as often as they do?